Hey, Josana, thank you for joining us on the program.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, after 35 years of meritorious service with the Nigerian Police Force, you voluntarily retired with medals, awards, and honors. And as Assistant Inspector General of Police, I mean, that would be an enviable position for anyone, any day, anytime. That's like a general in the army.
Yes.
One would expect that you will retire to your village or to some remote locations and just enjoy the fruits of your labor. Yet, instead of doing that, you decided to venture into business. And you not only ventured into business, you made a success of it. Tell us what your entrepreneurial journey was like.
Well, I can say the journey is full of bitterness and sweetness. What I mean by that is it's full of ups and downs, but it is pleasing. If one retire and just go back and sit down and feel he's now a pensioner, it's a disservice to himself, because this is a busy mind, a busy brain. In activities, you have been very functional. Just to withdraw that you retire and go and sit down, the body, you run down the system, you run down the brain, you keep it in action. And by that, you are hurting your system. It is good for somebody to be functional. You still have something to do. It gives you joy. It gives you some rough situations. Yeah, it is good for the body. And I think it is...
That's quite deep and instructive, sir. But, at what point did you realize that it was business for you? I mean, you could have done something else. You could have gone into teaching. You could have gone into ministry. I know that you're a very strong, good Christian, committed. You could have gone to be a pastor or something. Why business?
Well, I'm happy you go into those areas. I'm a reverend in my church. And I have been reverend while I was in service. And while I was in service, I'm just trying to go in that direction.
Yes.
While I was in service, head of many bands in the church, choir master, organist, and pastor, deacons, before I became reverend, even before I retired. So retiring is advantage to the church itself. That's to tell you that notwithstanding the commitment, the demand of my office by then, that of God is not left out of it.
The ministry did not suffer.
Yeah, it did not suffer. You see, that's to show you that I'm a busy man. When I run this, I finish with this, I'm on that, and from this, I'm on this.
Yes.
So if you retire and just go and sit down, you are hurting yourself unknowingly. So, and while in service, I knew I wouldn't just retire and just pull down everything. And from then, I did some job. I was working with Taylor Woodrow in those days.
Even as a police officer?
Not yet as a police officer.
Okay, before you joined the force.
Before I joined the police force. So that experience there helped me. At the time I was in the force, my commitment, my total commitment, with my previous working place, at the time I came into the police, I applied it. And it gives me upper hand, with my colleagues. While they were still dragging their foot, I've gone inside and put in my best. And it worked very well.
Because there were some capacities you brought into the police force when you joined.
Exactly.
And it helped you to have a competitive edge.
Because
while I was going through your profile, I noticed that not once, not twice, you had double promotion. In some instances,
yes.
You were promoted twice in a year.
Job, I go into it. And I go into it wholeheartedly with every sense of dedication. And it gives me upper hand. But that is what I brought from my previous working place. And I know I can carry that into myself, into my new company, into my new organizations. And I know I can make the best out of the situation.
So what you're trying to tell us now is that every exposure and experience comes handy in life.
Exactly.
And one should not underrate.
You will just reapply it wherever you find yourself.
Oh, yeah, that's quite deep. So when you move into a new job,
yes,
there are skills and knowledge and capabilities that you are bringing.
That is it.
And you should just figure out a way by which you can redirect and apply
redirect it and apply it. And it will just give you a fine result.
So would I be correct if I say that that was what happened when you retired from the police force? All of the skills, training, exposures,
yes,
experiences that you acquired in those 35 years in the force, you simply just figured out a way to apply it into business.
That is it.
Wow.
That is it. And while I was in the police, I came in at the lowest level as a constable. And it's very rare to find a constable rise to that level.
Yes. And you were commissioner of police
so many states.
In so many states, even including the old Oyo states.
The old Oyo states, the present Osun and Oyo
Kaduna state. Because these are the big states in Nigeria.
Edo state.
Edo.
And went to the War College, National War College. I was the first police officer to attend the National War College.
And graduated.
And graduated there. And so I was applying all those methodology, and it was working. And
you were trained with the FBI as well?
I did.
As well as Scotland Yard?
Yeah, because I was exposed to be working with them, attending different, handling many cases internationally, covering the whole world, with the FBI, with the German authority, with the Indian authority, to Malaysia, to Bahamas, and so on.
Wow. And I still want to say, I want you to give us the specifics of how you were able to relate your exposure, training, and experiences to doing business. Because to many of us professionals, we think in a linear manner. We don't tend to be diversified. But I'm seeing a versatility that is very rare. And I'd like to share with our audience out there.
Okay. What I will just say, and by Nigerian context, any job you want to do, be a policeman, if you can be on the job yourself, direct, sitting, don't sit down as an armchair general.
Okay.
You be on the field with your men. You will motivate them. They will not have room to play any hanky-panky. You are seeing them, they are seeing you, and they'll be happy seeing you, and they give you the best. And you always have the best. So in the police, I'm a field officer. I pass through all the ranks. I pass through all the segments of departments, CID, mobile, everything. So at the time I became top, get to the top echelon.
You had already experienced virtually every segment.
So I'm always there on the field with the boys. As a commissioner of police, I'm on the field. Before a DPO think twice, they find me there. Before beats policeman, I pick a date within a week.
I also read somewhere that, when you were assistant commissioner of police in Lagos State, within weeks, not even months now, weeks, you led a team that was mandated to fight robbery incidents at that time. We had Yemo and Shino Rambo and the rest of them.
That is it.
And within weeks, we were able to bring the robbery incidents down from about 200 per day to almost zero.
Not almost zero, it was zero.
Zero.
This was what inspired the president. What's happening? You mean in Lagos State, for 1 week running, no single case of armed robbery? And this is where we have 100, 150, 200, day in, day out. And you now have a whole week, no single case of robbery. And they said the new team that is just formed are working. And, it went on like that. First week, second week, third week, 6 weeks, no single case of robbery.
How did you do that?
Well, as I've said, commitment, dedication, and, total good hand. Just few men. We picked on a team of gang that I led and arrested. And that guy said, I believe his own is finished. If not, no policeman can arrest him like that.
I was relatively young then. I was an undergraduate in the 80s, and we heard all these tales about Shino Rambo and Yemo or something. And we had all kinds of tales about how they would disappear, how they were invincible and all of that.
They were looking for a vehicle, precisely, to go for robbery operation. And my department was newly formed. And I obliged them with one of my covered vehicle.
Okay.
And he got the vehicle unprepared. That is the best time to penetrate. Not necessarily in action. You can preempt. But when you need to confront, you can do that.
So intelligence worked more for you?
More, yeah.
How will you compare that to what is obtainable today? You know, even though this is a business program, but without security, there is no business. There can be no business. So we're still in order discussing security. Today, we tend to see policing and securing more as an act of physical presence and manning situations, manning gates, carrying guns and wielding guns. There are less of intels, as we can see.
It's unfortunate. This is the situation where we find ourselves as a nation. It wasn't so. The police has different departments. And intelligence department, I can say, is almost the most important department because they will gather the information and bring it in, you digest it and know what you will pass to detective to detect and know what you will pass to the uniformed policeman to operate upon. So intelligence is always the most important aspect of the policing.
But somewhere along the line, we lost that as a nation.
We lost that. That was a branch in the police. That was, they call it by then, they call them SSS, NSO, Special Branch, and all whatnot, E Department, and so on. They changed names from one thing to the other. That is the department that now formed the SSS.
Coming up.
I want to go into security business, and I have approached you not only as someone who has practiced as a professional, but also as someone who has practiced the security business as an entrepreneur. What kind of counsel will you be giving me?
Oh, I will just tell you, one, nowadays they made it more difficult before you can register.
Entry level.
The cost.
But right now, what we have now is not as effective and as functional as what we had
because there is gap. There's bound to be gap in communication. You see, then they will gather the information raw. They will pass it to the body that will analyze it. Those to go to for detective, they will pass it to them while it's still fresh. They are working on it. Those to go for more intelligence, they identify them and pump in more men on the subject matter. And when it is still fresh, they gather everything they want. And those to go to uniform men, they send it to them while it is still fresh. They hit the
so there's a unit that's like the brain box.
Exactly.
That processes the information and then sieves it.
And they start working on it. But nowadays, if it goes to the NSO, or call it Special Branch, or call it SSS, they will be digesting it there. It will be going from one hand to the other within their department. Maybe they may decide even to work on it without passing it to the people to use it. And this one creates vacuum. And so it create the ineffectiveness.
So what do you think, because as you spoke now, it would seem like a no-brainer that anyone would be able to notice this gap.
Yes.
And feel it. I just, like an outsider, I'm thinking that it shouldn't be so difficult to re-engineer that area. Why do you think it's not been re-engineered the way it should be done?
It looks as if to say it's not difficult. But if it is difficult, because you have created, this is just a section. You made them to look like a department. Not only a department, an organization. And we now have many heads, many leaders. So your ego at your own level, this one at its own level. So who is going to drop for one another.
It's like separating one arm from the body and making it independent.
Exactly.
It begins to feel I'm independent.
It's
I don't
an
need to
independent
work.
body, so it doesn't.
Whereas the whole thing should work as a system.
They should work as a system.
If you were sitting with the president, what kind of counsel or advice would you be giving him in terms of what he should be doing to re-engineer the police force?
It's just to bring these people together. They are doing the same job. They broke it into pieces and makes them ineffective. What's happened to the Nigerian police end up happening to the other department too. That is shortage of material, shortage of fund, shortage of this. It will happen to the other side too. Whereas if it is put together in one place, less than what they are putting together, they will see the result.
Now let's talk about business, making money, which is something that you've been able to bring yourself into after retirement, and the good Lord has made you a success of it. Rouge Nigeria Limited, one of your companies that you founded. What is Rouge into?
Rouge is Nigeria Limited is into security businesses.
Okay.
Apart from that, it is armed to be able to do other businesses, such as supplies, contract, whatever comes our way, it is into it, but primarily into security.
Security, we think, is a very broad, ubiquitous term.
Yes.
What niche areas do you service? As an intelligence officer, I want to reckon that.
Initially, depending on the market, initially we go into supply of a lot of security equipment. We get in touch with so many countries and see their security system, short circuit television system, intelligence, alarming system, and communication system, separate line that you can have direct pump your men to somewhere, communicate and coordinate on your own, not necessarily on telephone lines. And so we have all these systems working. Then we have intelligence department, people come into the country from the airport, we can receive them and give them a coverage and so on. Then we have other areas. If you want to monitor what is going on somewhere, you can employ us. We can pump in our staffs.
Like embedding.
Exactly.
Like undercover agents.
And they will be there working, mixing up. And they will never show anything to show that they belong to an outside agency. And from there, you can detect and know all that is happening within the company. But then, things are depending on the demand. The demand in Nigeria market, when businesses are not going on well, factories are not functioning well, a lot of things are closing down, so they have less patronage on those areas. But the area that people still cherish more is the uniform. We have people covering so many parts of the country. Port Harcourt, in Lagos, in Abuja, in Kaduna, in Benin, Makurdi, and so on and so forth. So they are working there. So we have more business on those areas than the intelligence aspect, which we had wanted to develop more for this country.
So, listening to you, you tend to be telling us that entrepreneurs should listen to their markets.
Exactly.
And not just say, because I know that your own passion is intel.
Yes.
Intelligence gathering.
That's
and
right.
if you're going to security, like you have also said to us now, you primarily set out to focus on the intelligence as a business venture.
Yes.
But when you realized that the market was not really responding well, you had to adapt your business model to the needs of the market.
That's correct.
And that, for me, is what a lot of entrepreneurs are not doing today.
That's right.
You have a passion for something, you just launch out and start to do it. And you don't test your market over time, and you keep lamenting and complaining
You will regret.
when things are not
you
working.
will regret because you wouldn't get what you want. And once you don't get what you want, it's a failure. And I cannot afford to fail. So it's to analyze, digest, test the market and see where there is demand. And where there is demand, I drift to that area.
Now,
that's how you can keep yourself afloat.
So entrepreneurs need to be alive to the needs of the market and continue to modify themselves adapt
to meet up with
it.
To that challenge.
Now, related to that, in recent times, there have been waves of kidnapping around the country. There have been incidents of domestic staff, doing all kinds of untoward things, which brings me to the idea of background checks.
Yes.
I think the awareness has started to grow that the world we live in is a much more difficult world, and for that reason, when you are bringing staff into your home or your office, for sensitive positions especially, you need to do background check.
Exactly.
Has that impacted on your business?
As at now, we are looking forward. I know the demand for the intelligence aspect of security duties will be emerging with time. But not yet.
Not yet. And how are you preparing for?
We are watching.
The structure is on ground.
The structure is on ground. We are watching. And if there's any demand, this is what we want. We sit down, we analyze and see, hear your demand. Then we go and build it up and say, this is the outfit. But you have to pay. You see, it is quite expensive. Security is expensive. So,
and if you want it, because
with the downturn of business in Nigeria,
yes,
many people cannot go into that.
They can't afford to invest in security.
That's right.
Now, still staying on the security business, I'll still touch on your other ventures if time permits. But this is very important because it is generally agreed that the number one problem that we have in our society today, even in the whole world, is security issue. And so I would want to assume that there is vast opportunity in that sector.
Exactly.
And we don't have many people taking advantage or appropriating those commercial opportunities.
Those even who went into it regretted because they don't meet what they expect. Because the response, the demand is so low. And so if you don't know how to adjust and drift to where there is demand, you'll be left alone.
So you can't afford to be static.
Except
you have to continuously research the market and adapt yourself accordingly.
Exactly. According to the demand.
If we're going to be specific, I want to go into security business, and I have approached you not only as someone who has practiced as a professional, but also as someone who has practiced the security business as an entrepreneur. What kind of counsel will you be giving me?
Oh, I will just tell you, one, nowadays they made it more difficult before you can register.
Entry level.
The cost, that is one, and a lot of Herculean task, demand, things you should meet, and so on. So that put a lot of people off. But after all this, when they are not making the business, they play down on the security. But if the market is booming and you are making money, then you can say, okay, let me feel secure as well. Nowadays, we have neglected all this now as a nation. And we now get a nation that is not properly secure.
Now, why won't we want to make it easy for players to enter that sector? Because I know that in America and the other places that I want to quickly cite as examples where their citizens are well secured to some high degree. I mean, not in every part of America, but let's say Europe. In many European countries where their citizens are well secured. It's because the government security arms efforts and activities are complemented by a huge, vast private security network.
Yes, that is it.
So why won't government be interested in allowing more players to come into the sector?
Well, the government has their own reason.
Okay.
But I will say that reason, as a person, is not reasonable enough. Considering the threats, the insecurity we have on the ground. So there are abuses, however. Let me admit that. There are some companies that are not properly registered, not properly documented, and if something happens, you are looking for them, you can't trace them. So it is good, you know who is who, and who is behind these companies. But then, having known that and seeing the security situations in the country, I think that area needs to be relaxed to enable more formations to emerge. I could remember when I was a CP of, Kaduna State, they have an outfit, a locally made outfit. They call it Yambanga.
Okay.
So they don't allow, it was a tug of war.
Like a local vigilante?
Yeah, local vigilante. It was a tug of war between the police and them. And the authorities on ground, the community, want them to complement the efforts of the police. And the situation by then, government demand that, no, it shouldn't be like that. But at the time I got there, I said, look, if an ordinary person, every Nigerian has power to arrest, whether you are a vigilante or whether you are whatever it is, you have power to arrest.
You can only arrest and hand
over. So why can't we have an outfit that will help us, to round up these people? The police cannot cover everywhere. And so if we have other bodies that can do the right thing for us, then why can't we accommodate them? So at the time I took over, the first press thing they want to know whether I, as the new commissioner of police, will want to work with these vigilante people. And I said, very well. In fact, I'm looking for them. And everybody said, oh, I have one in Kaduna State. And they are very useful, cooperating, they penetrate everywhere, they have access to me, I have access to them. At times where you don't think I am, I will be there. I'll be there before them. And when I see them, they say, oh, that is the man who recognized our organization. They give me all the cooperation that I need. And I succeeded.
So one can extrapolate from this incident,
yes,
which took place more than 25 years ago, thereabout.
About 25 years.
One can extrapolate to say, you shouldn't throw a baby away with the bath water.
In fact, that water that we even think is bad is useful somewhere.
Oh dear.
There's nothing that is not useful, except if you are not applying it. And everything is equally bad, because one of the bad things that we need dearly is electricity. Put your hand in it, it's a bad...
so life operates in duality.
Exactly.
And so what is good or bad is a matter of perspective.
It's a question of perspective and where do you want to apply it. And you settle down and see where do you need it. And don't waste it. So it will give you good result. And people will be seeing you succeeding.
Now, why do you think the marketplace, is reluctant to procure the services of private security agencies, as it were, whether for technology sourcing, for intelligence gathering, and so on? Why? Is it a cultural thing, or is it just purely economic consideration?
Well, ordinarily,
yes, sir,
at the time we started newly, the Nigerian economy was not as bad as it is now. So there were people coming, trying to patronize us. So, and we believe Nigeria is going to be a good market because of the threats, the insecurity threats here and there. But as things go the other way, economic-wise, in the nation, those that even ask us for services cannot pay. So we write to them.
And you need that payment to keep the company going.
You see, you employ people.
Yes.
And you want them to do security job, risking their life. So you have to pay them.
Pay them well.
And so once you don't pay them well, they will be doing the other side of the job. And they will constitute insecurity.
True.
A threat. Because they know in and out.
So how can we overcome this? Because I always ask people, I go to rich men's homes and I look at, with my own little knowledge about security issues, I look at the building, the cars. The cheapest car is probably 11 or 15 million naira.
Yes.
And there's this malam, or probably even a foreigner
who doesn't even understand
who doesn't understand English or their language, who has not been trained, whom they don't know.
They don't know the background.
And so they just put him at the gate, and that's the only security in the whole house.
That's the cheapest.
I can't, because it's cheap.
It's the cheapest.
So I asked myself, if I can afford to build a 100 million naira house and have automobiles that are worth over 50 million naira, the collection, why would it be difficult for me to invest maybe even 100,000 naira every month, or even 50,000 naira every month?
You are thinking all right. But then, a lot of people in Nigeria today, I'm sorry to say, I think they are not
say God will protect you.
Yeah, God, we believe, we pray very well, and we believe God will do it. But God has given you the knowledge, the means, and everything. So you have to apply. So you don't just continue to tempt God. What you should do for yourself, you don't do it and say God will do it. God gave you the knowledge, God gave you the capability and the means. So why can't you do it?
Coming up.
7:30 in the morning, I'm at my site. So workers that will arrive, work late, we will meet the chairman. I wasn't the MD, we have an MD. And they meet the chairman at the site. So tomorrow, nobody will tell you not to come on time.
You don't do upstairs, okay?
I'm still a general. No. I'm always at the site.
So how can we change this orientation?
Well, I believe it's going to be gradual.
Yes.
If the economic picks up, those taking all those nights, malams or foreigners, you don't know them before, overnight you can just decide to withdraw and go away. You cannot trace him to
that
anywhere.
Happens regularly.
And that is the end. So and after some time, they bring in their people, they let them have the local knowledge, and they create insecurity for the area. So we are seeing all this happening, but the owner or the person who employs has the final say.
That's true.
So if you decide not to employ the trained people, what do you do?
No, as you're speaking now, I'm just seeing a gap.
Yeah.
And I would like your expertise, based on your experience and knowledge about how the industry functions, to tell me if this is workable, if it's feasible.
Yeah.
Perhaps if one could come up with a business model where you help train these cheap security guards for a fee.
Yeah.
Because in my area alone, I can count a minimum of 100 of such security guards.
Yes.
And a small estate, as it were, not populated like that. So I'm just thinking now that, okay, if you cannot afford well-trained, qualified security men that a company like yours has available, perhaps, okay, this cheap one that you can afford, let's ramp them all together. All of you on this street, pay a certain amount, and let's give them a crash program, maybe 6 weeks.
We have a training department.
Oh, really?
But then, even those with our department haven't trained them, small time they will get another outfit that want to pay them more money. So the attrition rate was so high, even with our own department. And wherever they go to, the same thing, they go to wherever there is better pay.
Did you have a standing relationship that you leveraged on and that worked well for you?
Yes, we have some that work well, and we have some that fail.
Okay.
And that is why you must not put your egg in one basket. So as you are approaching one, you must be thinking, what is plan B? What could be plan C? And so on and so forth. So if this is failing, you have plan B, and so on. So you have some that are cooperating very well and want to see you up. You have some that want to see you up to a certain extent. They will want to leave you alone. And so if you are not...
And you will have some that doesn't want to
even to emerge. So you come across this...
so one must prepare himself for that reality.
Exactly.
But the crucial thing is that while in service, you should proactively build relationships, expand your relationship network.
Prepare yourself. Prepare for out of service relationship. There are many civil servants lose focus. They are carried away with office friends. Some are carried away by the power within his office. You are going to leave all those powers, and those powers, if you don't leave it, it will leave you. Then those having office friends, immediately you leave office, they leave you.
True.
So you must be able to look out and, identify who are your friends, who are your real friends in need. And once you establish this, you keep them. There shouldn't be many. And at the time
it's not
you come
about
out,
quantity.
it's not quantity.
It's about quality.
The real one. And at the time you leave, I'm still enjoying myself till today. I have some old good friends, and we are still good friends till today. And what affects me affects them, and what affects them affects me. So we have this sense of belonging. We are not
because
related.
you kept the network active while you were in service.
Exactly.
So you went outside your office and professional calling to also expand the network.
Exactly.
And you nurtured it, you invested into the network.
Exactly.
And it has come handy and useful in retirement.
In fact, while you are in a particular state, you must know who are your friends there. And you must know the friend you are grooming yourself to remain with, even when you leave the state. And such, whether you leave the state or not, with the relationship you have kept with one another, not fraudulent relationship, truthful relationship, quality, genuine relationship. You will meet them there, they are waiting for you.
And you leverage on that, that becomes part of. So for those who retire and they think all they have is just their severance package, retirement benefits, and maybe the monthly pension. What you're telling them now is that what you have is a lot more than that.
It's a lot more than that. Monthly pension that looks reasonable during our time, right now cannot even fuel my tank.
True.
Now, what looks reasonable by them, inflation has sunk them up. What looked like reasonable that I can buy a tire with, or buy a car with, in those days, cannot even buy a tire now.
True.
So if you are just relying on your retirement benefit and so on without, positioning yourself with good manner, not fraudulent manner, with every sense of honesty and dedication to your God too. That is important because the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. So anybody you deal with the fear of God, self-respect, and so on, definitely they will have known you that you did not carry the job on your head. That this is whom you are, and you will retain them. And at the time you leave office, they are there for you.
And you can leverage on that relationship, and that's your reputation.
And it will begin to grow. And
so there's something called social asset. Because I read in one book that when people want to venture into business, they shouldn't only think about money as the only capital that they need. There's also something called social capital, which is your network.
Yes.
There's also something called knowledge capital.
Yes.
There's also something called emotional capital.
That's right.
Communication ability capital.
That's right.
People skills capital.
You got it.
So if you're in service and you've been able to acquire these other
skills
and potentials and capabilities, then you have a lot.
You have a lot
to run with after retirement.
You have a lot.
That's quite deep. That's quite deep.
Coming up.
So I was trained to primary education. Despite I passed so many secondary schools, my father said, "I'm sorry, I don't have money to continue with you. So go and find your way." So I found my way in getting GC, find my way in getting this, find my way in taking all my papers, find my way into Telewoodrow. I'm trained into this, into that. Find my way into the police, and into the police I study all police colleges, all police training schools. Wherever there's training institution, I will find my way there. I will see that I'm put there.
Now let's look at your second company. Is in the construction.
Yes.
one would think that, because we professionals, we tend to be linear. If you're a civil servant working in the finance section, if you're going to think about doing business at all after retirement, you will be thinking of consulting as a financial consultant. We tend to be linear. But here you are, you retired, you spent 35 years in the security arm of our national life, and even internationally you practiced it, yet you decided to venture into a new terrain, as it were. What instigated that decision?
Okay, I told you before I start my 35-year journey in the police, I was with Taylor Woodrow.
True.
That was into construction. That time there was no Julius Berger. We have Costain, we have Taylor Woodrow, and just about a few others like that. Those are the people we have in the country. So there and then I was trained as a plant manager. And by that I was exposed to a lot of technical jobs. Trained as a fitter, as a welder, as joiner, as everything, and as a diver, as everything. Diver. So all these things were in my head. And I left them and then joined the police. So at the time I joined the police, I can dare myself into anything. And I will know it's going to be well.
You were equipped.
I hold to my God anyway. So either immediately I finish the office job, I'm in the church. As a choir master, as organist, as this and that. So I don't play with that. So it doesn't block my job. So at the time I retired, or even before I retired, the little thing God gave me, a place, my house, I built it myself. Then I was in service. I employed men. I pay them. And I see what they do every day. So most evenings, I go for tennis. But immediately I start the construction of that house, that place became my tennis ground court. Every evening. So every evening I put on my tennis dress and so on, go and say hello to my colleagues there, I'm coming. And I go there. So one day I invited all my tennis team. Now this is why I'm not always around at the court. So this is where I am. So we have a nice day.
And I've seen your house, and at the time you built it.
Yes.
And looking at the design and the details and the finishing, one would think that a core, thoroughbred, professional with years of experience.
I did it myself.
You're just telling me now.
Yeah, I go there in the evening. If you put up anything since morning, if it is not meeting my demand, please pull it down. We pull it when it's still fresh. And so we have not wasted anything. I know how we can preserve the mixed cement, cover it up, and they will recast it, replace it the way I want, and they work till late. And I'll be with them. And the following day, they will come and put it upright. And at the time I come, every day I'll be there. So
the technical knowledge had always been there.
Had always been there.
And you didn't allow it to be
No. I was, developing it. And at the time I was retiring, I just go into that. And we have some structures within the UI there. 4-story building, administrative blocks and so on. Trenchard hall, we pull the whole thing, the whole roofing down, re-roof it, remodel it, and repackage it for them.
So there's a record of performance.
It's there.
For anyone who is a doubter.
You go and see.
But I know that you're not doing it alone. You have a team.
Oh.
What are the things you look out for when you want to select members of your team?
Well,
those who will work for you.
I know what I want.
Yes.
And I know who can give it. And if you can't give it, just fire you. That's all. And if you are good, I put you in position. And we work together. And not that I leave you to do the job. I am there with you.
Okay, so you're always...
7:30 in the morning, I'm at my site. So workers that will arrive, work late, we will meet the chairman. I wasn't the MD, we have an MD. And they meet the chairman at the site. So tomorrow, nobody will tell you not to come on time.
So you don't do upstairs Oga, as they say in our parlance.
I'm still general. No. I'm always at the site.
Coming up.
I put on my t-shirt, put on jeans, and my daughter was a student in UI. So there she is there, I'm there too. As a father,
co-student.
So we are co-students.
I've heard you talk also about continuous education. I know that after you retired, you still went to school, University of Ibadan, to get degrees, postgraduate degrees.
Yes.
You even went abroad
Yes.
to obtain a degree in management
Yes.
at a prestigious UK institution.
Exactly.
What informed your decision to do all of these things and to hold dear this concept of continuous education, which I've heard you preach at some fora?
Well, I came from a background that was quite down there. My father was a farmer. So typical farmer. And so all he knows is that he will train his children to primary education. After primary education, he said, your eye has been opened. So go and find your way.
Find your way.
So I was trained to primary education. Despite I passed so many secondary schools, my father said, I'm sorry, I don't have money to continue with you. So go and find your way. So I found my way in getting GC, find my way in getting this, find my way in taking all my papers, find my way into Taylor Woodrow. I'm trained into this, into that, find my way into the police. And into the police, I studied all police colleges, all police training schools. Wherever there's training institution, I will find my way there. I will see that I'm put there. And today, before I left the force, I become an expert in all the fields. And from there to overseas training, to the FBI, to the Scotland Yard, and I found myself doing international job. For 4 or 5 years, I was on international assignment.
So you already have that record. That habit of continuous education.
And at the time I retired, as I look at, I'm now working at UI, but then I was constructing a big structure there. And I feel I'm here every day. So why can't I come in? After all, I've finished with the War College. I have my certificate. So I enrolled to do my master's degree. So while I'm inside the UI supervising my job, then at the same time, I'm in the classroom.
Now, there's a discipline that is required to achieve all that, because...
Just make up your mind.
Just make up your mind.
I know I can do it, and I made up my mind to do it.
Because I was interviewing someone, and I asked her, how are you able to do this? And she said, I listen to myself.
Yes.
Once I have a nudge in my spirit to do something, I don't contemplate.
No.
I don't think about it, because once I start to think and analyze, I won't do it.
You'll be put down.
Once I have that inner conviction, I just throw myself into it and just do it.
That's all.
And that's what you are preaching again.
Exactly,
too.
Exactly. That is it.
I think that's the best place to live.
I put on my T-shirt, put on jeans, and my daughter was a student in UI. So there she is there, I'm there too. As a father,
as a co-student.
So we are co-students.
I think a lot of people would find that inspiring. I watched an interview some time ago of an 80-something-year-old man on Yomila Inka interviews in this US,
That's right.
who got his degree in UI.
Yes.
And on the interview program, he was saying that he plans to go for his doctoral because his son is presently on his PhD, and he also wants to prove to his son that he can obtain a PhD.
Yes. More so, why I decided to go into the university and to go to that London institution was that I was not privileged to be trained to go to the university from childhood. And I said, God had designed me to go to university. So let me now, on my own, after retirement, go to the university. And I went and I found it very simple, and I went through with ease.
So just do it.
Just do it. That's
Once
all.
you have an inclination or a nudging.
No, I'm not going to look for a job with it. So thank God, so far so good. With the jobs I'm doing, that's okay. But then, when they ask about your educational qualification, say, oh, he's having a master's degree in so and so.
Before we go, sir, I'd like your final word in terms of your counsel to those who are still in service and are about to retire, or those who have retired and are feeling depressed and despondent out there. I'd like to have your final word by way of counsel to them.
Well, my final word for them is that they should know that it is not as bad outside their job as they are thinking. The way you make your bed, that is how you are going to lie on it. So they should begin to make their bed well now by socializing, by doing good things, by being friendly, by doing this, by that, and preparing for whom they are going to relate with after service. Hence, they will be left alone and they will feel isolated. They could be isolated.
Which is bad, you know.
Which is very bad.
Yeah, Justin Ayak, I want to thank you most sincerely. I want to
pleasure.
thank you effusively
Thank you very
for
much.
agreeing to come on the program to share your insights with us
Thank you very
about how you can transit
Yeah.
from life in service to life in retirement
Yeah.
and succeeding
Yes.
even beyond retirement as an entrepreneur. Thank you very much for
It's a
coming on the
pleasure.
program.
Thank you very much. Okay.